All right, welcome to my FX Buddies, the podcast. And I say podcast because there are other ways in which you can interact with this content. But my favorite way is the blog. And the blog is parked at myfxbuddies.blogspot.com. However, that's very long to remember or type in. So wherever you are enjoying this content, look for a prompt of more info, intro, description, something of that nature. Click on it. Another box will open and it will have the link directly to the blog in it and the free blog. You don't even have to put your email in, and I don't sell you anything. And some other information is there too. All right. And I want to say thank you. And I want to say don't forget on your way out to hit that thumbs up. Even though there's going to be, this is a tough one. This is a tough one. There's some things we have to cover that some of you aren't going to like. But remember, this is All Things Are Possible August. So, but we just need to know that it's, be aware. Okay. So, but, I still would appreciate the thumbs up on your way out. And if you're not subscribed at 11 minutes and 11 seconds, a icon is going to pop up in the bottom right hand if you're watching this on YouTube, and you can click on that and subscribe for free if you like. All right. Today is or was Tuesday, August 5th. This probably will upload for Tuesday, August 5th. So you see I didn't post yesterday because there was nothing. And I don't like wasting your time or my time. So, and then what there was yesterday kind of carried over to today. So we will get right into it. So we know that Iran has done what I think is the first step. Now, if you're not familiar with how Iraq passes laws, it has to be read and passed 3 times. The final time is the final, the third time is a final time. It goes to the president of Iraq. He has 15 days to sign it. His signature ratifies the law. Then it will, even if he doesn't sign it, let me throw that in there. Even if he doesn't sign it, 15 days after the third approval, it's considered ratified. Then it goes into the Gazette, and then it is officially official, a general law for the country. Okay, that's how Iraq works. I don't know how Iran works, but by reading the articles, I think they do something similar because they're saying they passed the draft law of taking off the zeros, right? And then it goes to some other. They don't even call their groups the same thing that Iraq calls theirs. So yeah, instead of a parliament, they have a council. So, but I'm watching what they're doing. Okay, so that's where we left off. So now, today, this is the title. I put Iran drops 4 zeros. Is Iraq next? And I know some of you smart people pointed out, well, it doesn't matter if they don't change the rate. And I said, that's right. But perhaps they can't discuss the rate like Iraq can't, right? So this is what came out today. From Tehran to Baghdad. Will removing zeros become a policy to conceal structural deficits? So now see, they didn't mention how many zeros here. It just says removing zeros, right? Okay, so the Economic Committee of the Shura Council approved a draft law to remove 4 zeros from the national currency, their national currency, right? A move that suggests a technical effort to address a structural crisis rather than a genuine economic breakthrough. So I'm thinking if they took the zeros off and changed their rate, That would be an economic breakthrough? I don't know. When monetary solutions become political facades, tampering with the digital form of currency becomes an expression of a deep dilemma at the core of public policy. But aren't you talking about the paper money? I don't know. The draft law seeks to establish the real, which that's not how it's spelled, unless they're changing the spelling, but whatever, as the official currency, but with a new calculation, but not a new rate, right? Each new real is equivalent to 10,000 of the previous version divided into 100 kirans, QIRANS, which in another article it said that was equivalent to like 1 cent. Although this proposal is not new, it was re-proposed from the 2019 archives amid the ongoing erosion of purchasing power and a clear failure to contain inflation or restore monetary confidence. So it appears the state is trying to restore the currency's image, not its actual value. There we go again with value. All right. So the last, and you can read the rest of it. I mean, it just says more of the same. Could this model apply to Iraq? Now, this was not in the other articles. This last little paragraph right here. The data are different in form, but similar in content. Iraq too suffers from an excessively rentier economy, a parallel currency market, and a lack of transparency in reserve management. If if political crises and financial corruption persists, the options of removing zeros may one day be presented not as a monetary option, but rather as a symbolic cover to evade the demands of genuine reform. So it's not good, but I like that they're talking about Iraq removing zeros. And that's what we need them to do. Plus, we need a rate change. I know. All right. But they can't talk about that. They can't talk about changing their rate in public because they know we're watching, right? Iraq knows we're watching. All right. So I thought that was not exciting, but interesting. And it's another step. And let's see if tomorrow there's another step, right? Okay. An expert details the impact of issuing promotions and annual bonuses on Iraq's financial expenditures. So, Sadani put a order. He didn't order, but he put out an order. It the wording is like to prepare to pay. It doesn't say that he's going to pay them. So the issuance of promotions, annual bonuses, and the inclusion of certificates earned during service for all state employees is a strategic step toward enhancing the efficiency of the administrative apparatus and motivating human resources in the public sector despite the financial challenges facing the general budget. So it reads like the order was to pay them, but how can they pay them when they have a liquidity crisis, right? And the budgets are not open. So it says such decisions should not be viewed solely for the perspective of financial costs, but also from the perspective of indirect economic impacts. Now, this might happen because they're getting ready to have this huge holiday, and they want people to have money in their pockets for this holiday. Those who celebrate, not all of them celebrate, but also they need to stimulate the economy during periods of recession. So, yeah, this has been in the news, and like I said, it's a weird wording. See, so he's directed the Minister of Finance to issue orders for promotions, but see, I'm simple. I'm a simple-minded person. You can't hint around things with me. If you're ordering these people to be paid, then just say, I'm ordering these people to be paid. So since it's worded such a weird way, I don't think they're actually going to get paid yet, but maybe like they're preparing to pay them, which could be good because maybe some of these are like 3 years old though. So should they pay the 3-year-old back pay at a new rate? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. But we'll see. I'm watching, but I wanted to talk about it today because it's more prevalent in the news. And yeah. All right. So now here, this I think is the latest. We have on the oil saga, right? We have not received oil from the Kurdistan region yet. But it's the same thing. They've agreed on the oils, the oils, the barrels of oil, everything. There's nothing new, but I guess they have to keep putting stuff in the news. Excuse me. Putting things in the news so the people see them working. Now, they did have to explain that there was a letter that leaked out that I didn't talk about because it has nothing to do with the RV, right? Or the rate change. But now these people have done a change in their procedures. SOMO has done a change in their procedures. So someone leaked out a letter verifying, oh yes, they're smuggling oil, right? And gave how you can tell, evidence of how you can tell. So now the director, if you're following along with me, the Director General of SOMO indicated that the letter is directed solely to the relevant security agencies and is written in a high-level format to ensure complete control over export operations and that any suspicious tanker is located by the relevant authorities. So they said, okay, only certain level people are going to get notifications now. So the ones that we can trust not to leak out that they're smuggling oil. But do you see why I don't trust the numbers? And I, for years, just was like, whatever. Scanned over the articles, didn't even talk about it because if Iraq and Iran are doing this mess, so are all the other countries. I don't even think they have an accurate count of how much oil is out there. I'm sure we do it. They probably all do it. But anyway, so yeah, but this is the story they want us following, right? This is what's in the article, so we'll follow it. And so now all of a sudden, guess what? Kurdistan-Baghdad disputes return with greater force amid domestic and foreign challenges. Okay, now there is, and that may be describing the same challenge, okay? But yeah, so it almost seems like everything was fine. And they were like, okay, you've been given the go. So, now you guys can be friendly to each other in public. But now they're like, oh, wait, something happened and we're going to hold off for a bit. You guys need to be mad at each other again, right? That's what it seems like. But, so they talk about fiery statements made by the Kurdistan region and blah, blah, blah. They're saying there's an uprising about Article 140. Article 140 is the disputed territories. So, and that, they can always throw that up whenever they want to until they start actually paying those people. And they're also supposed to get land too. They can always use that as a thing that's making them have tension between each other, right? Even though they're not part of Baghdad and they're not part of Kurdistan. So there's that. They talk about the salaries and the 120 billion dinars. So if you're going to read anything, read the first paragraph in this one that I made blue. Yeah, because that's pretty long. But some people read every inch of the oil articles, so that's why I put them there. And so amidst all this trouble, turmoil, not getting along, Baghdad's lying, the region's lying, they're going to have a major International Energy Forum in Baghdad. And look who's invited. Somo. And then there's some other ones. It says international, but I think all of those are Iraqi. And when is it? September 6th and 7th. So there's still time. There's still time for it to be post rate change, right? Keeping faith up. But it says this broad participation reflects, because here's the companies. The usuals: BP, Total, Chevron, ENI, that's an Italian company, and Shell, right? So if any others, there's still time for them to sign up. But it shows Iraq's pivotal place in the global energy sector, all that good stuff, right? Here, this was yesterday. This might be significant because it's a little tiny article, 3 sentences. You see that? And it says any ship that does not carry official documents will not enter Iraq. So they're making this statement. However, it's only through this point, this port, this Khor Abdullah, whatever canal. There's probably other places. If they try to go through there and they say, "Where's your papers?" and they don't have papers, then they'll say, "But if you go around over here to that smaller port, they'll let you in." Oh, all right. Let's see. Oh, okay, so here's this should be short. This should be a shorter one. So here's my one commercial. Again, I have to say thank you. So if you'd like to support my FX buddies, which is me, this Buy Me a Coffee will be a live link when this preview is gone. Cash App is always live. And did you see if you use Cash App, did they update yours? They are always doing things, and then I have to learn. Anyway, I shouldn't complain, right? I should be happy that I got some money in Cash App to be having to learn. Anyway, so that's my it's $ all lower cases. T as in Tom, I, S as in Sam, H, W, A, S as in Sam, H, and then PayPal is the same thing. Thank you in advance. Big or small, I appreciate it all. And that's another reason why I stopped following. Well, Bitcoin is easy because Bitcoin I could do. Matter of fact, I buy and hold Bitcoin in Cash App. I know I don't really own it. I know, but that's where I have it for now. I do have a Nano, but it's like 2.5 hours away from me, which I kind of did on purpose because I was, it gets tempting, especially that XRP. I got XRP when it was like 0.000, right? So now that it's wherever it is, I would be tempted to sell it. Let me get my Nano and sell it. So I purposely left it in the city I used to live in with people I trust, of course. But even with that, so I used to do Pancake, and that thing, if you're familiar with that. And then they changed that. And I had just gotten familiar with all of that. And they changed that. So the apps, and I'm not that old, right? I'm middle age. So I'm like, and I'm not saying that people who are in their 80s can't learn it, but it's like, man, just when you get a hold of things, then they change it up on you. And I know it's progress and the technology is better. I know, but for people like me who we're not so used to change, or we grumble, we go along with the change anyway, but we grumble along the way, right? Oh, so, okay, here's the other thing. Well, forgive me. I was about to say this is funny. It's not funny, though. I'm sure you heard Parliament had a fight They did. And they weren't just throwing shoes. They actually did. At least 2 punches were thrown. But there were pushing, pushing, and then people dispersing the people before it got to blows. Throw them blows, right? I know that's not the right words, but just work with me here. That's a song by Ludacris. Okay, so they had their parliament sessions, and they didn't do anything in any of them. And today was the last one. So part of the problem, issue, tension is that law, the PMF law, which remember I said I didn't want to get into, but they're forcing me to get into it now. We don't want it. The U.S. does not want it passed. Supposedly, and it probably is true, it will give Iran even more power. Well, they've lost power. They've lost partial control of, they've been weakened, right? Since, was it the 12th day? No. But, whatever, look, I don't even remember the name. I think it was the 12-day conflict, right? Between Ice Cream Land and the neighbor. But whatever, and we took out quite a few of their, or we didn't, but quite a few of their leaders were taken out. So they've been weakened and they have lost some control and power. But this law would replenish that and then some. So we don't want it passed. The people, the Shiites, they do. So there was a big time disruption in the parliament. They had 10 things on the docket. They may have done some of it, but because you can see, none of these are passionate, things that they should get so passionate about. Minor care, juvenile care, the Sunni endowment law. So it's definitely, they're saying it's about the popular mobilization law. That's what it's about. But the kicker behind the scenes of the stormy parliament session, the House Speaker, this is not their parliament. So I don't know what this picture, and I wanted you, those of you who are following along, their media does the same thing our media does. That's not their parliament. I've been watching their parliament building for 4 years, and that's not it. So a lot of medias do that, right? They put, or they'll say, "Oh, it was a mistake. We thought," right? But anyway, so they immediately had a tense atmosphere. They had 169 people, and even though that's not half, there's some rule where if they really need to move forward, they can move forward. They can do something to make the number of people that are there the majority, which would be a quorum. But so things escalated. The problems began with words and escalated to the point that the session was not held as agreed, and everything stopped except the fighting. See, they had 169. So at some point, the speaker, he screamed out the equivalent of, the Sunnis rule. The Sunnis rule Iraq. So they're not supposed to do that. Even if they believe that. They're kind of supposed to keep that to themselves. They're supposed to be neutral, right? So right here, he started shouting. The Sunni component is marginalized, and they are the masters of the country. Did I say Shiite? I did. Excuse me. I think I said Shiites. And he said Sunni. So that's not good. So that happened. So that's the end of the Parliament session. I don't know when they're going to meet again, but when they put it out, I'll tell you. Okay, here's just another little article about they're unable to submit the 2025 budget schedules and something to do with the U.S. Federal Reserve and failure to deliver oil, all of that. But, they just have to put things in the news to make the people think they're working, right? And to complain. Okay, here's the issue: a new U.S. threat to Iraq. The U.S. State Department, what's her name? Tammy Bruce? Did I put her picture there? Oh no, they used this. But her name is Tammy Bruce. She gave us, what's the thing? Press conference. It said it will change the nature of the bilateral security partnership with Baghdad. So we don't like it. We don't like it. We strongly oppose. See that? We, we're not infringing on your sovereignty or anything, but, we strongly oppose the legislation which empowers groups that have pew-pews linked to the neighbor and terrorists, Tammy Bruce said during a press conference in Washington, D.C. So, yeah, they've already done the first and second reading. So if they would have done the third one today, it would have been one step closer to being a law. So that's why. I don't know if they got paid or if they're standing on their ground because they don't want this law passed. I don't know if maybe they're trying to help Sudani because, see, Iran, the neighbor, could pressure Sudani and say, you better get that deal done. We want that law passed. Or, they're going to be like, here lies Sudani, who was a great man. Right? You know what I'm trying to say? Even though they don't do that. That's kind of things that's our, they have their own wording they say. And then we're saying, we don't want that law passed. And, we got things we can do to you. We got economic things we can do to you. We got sanctions we can do to you. So he's, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how he's going to get out of that. But that's where we are. And it could all be a show, right? It could all be a show. And when they're ready to push this forward, magically everything could be done. They'll table that bill and things will be fine, right? So keep that in mind. And that's why I always say all things are possible, because they are. But this is serious because the whole world saw them, right? When things happen in Parliament like that, the whole world sees it, and it's embarrassing, right? So yeah, so that's it. And then here, Shiite rivalry heats up over Iraq's next prime minister post ahead of elections. So I thought, here we go. Here's the whole problem right here. At the center of the unfolding power struggle are Sudani, Amiri, who's Iranian-backed, Maliki, who's Iranian-backed. That Idani person, I'm not sure. I don't know who's backing them. But he's the governor of Basra. All four are considered serious contenders, and their allies have begun mobilizing political and media campaigns ahead of the vote. So that's why we need them to get this rate change done before this election starts, because there's already things happening in the media to make Sadani look bad. So here's another Kurdistan oil companies. We continue negotiations to resume oil exports, despite people saying oil is flowing. There is oil flowing, but it's not flowing from Kurdistan. It's not flowing from the Turkish Ceyhan pipeline. And yeah, so there's that. I think that's the last. There might be one more. Yeah, this is another thing. This seems a little screwy too, but it may be done to appease the neighbor and us. So you see, it says an economic expert reveals an agreement to process Iraqi gas in Iran. So Iraq is going to send their gas to Iran. Iran is going to process it and then send it back. I think they're going to keep some of it also, but they're going to send it back. So I'm sorry, that's just opening all kinds of smuggling and right, all kinds of untoward things can happen, but whatever, that's their arrangement. Okay, this is so cool. If you haven't seen this, it's a video of a mall. Look at that. That could be here in the US of A. So if you want to see that, it's at the bottom of the blog. You know how I do, because there's people who they like to hear about the articles, but they don't necessarily want to read them. So this video is quite lengthy, maybe almost 20 minutes, and it's in Arabic, so just put it on mute, speed it up, and someone's walking around with a camera, and they're showing the activity in the mall. They interview a couple of people, but I just wanted you to see, look, there's Pepsi, there's brands we're familiar with, brands that we're not familiar with, but look how modern and even luxury. There's luxury stores in there. So I know there's people like me that like to watch things like that. And you can see some women are dressed in the, all black thing, and some women are dressed in regular clothes, and it's just neat. I thought it was neat. Then tomorrow I have a video of farmers in one city that are using solar energy. Yeah, so that's pretty neat. So I'm going to post that on tomorrow's blog, right? So thank you. Yeah, I went over. I apologize. So I hope this was helpful. It's just the show, right? Uh, they've come so far to go backwards. I just don't get it. But I know it's power. It's power over money, and you get hot-headed people. I'm a tough guy. Well, I'm a tougher guy, right? And yeah, but so we'll keep our eye on it. We'll watch. I'm going to be positive because I believe all things are possible. And thank you again for support, for all the comments. Good comments. Thinkers, I really appreciate it. Accumulate while we wait for the rate to appreciate. Don't miss any meals and pay all your bills. Again, hit the thumbs up on your way out. Like, subscribe, follow, because I don't post regularly. So if technology works as it's supposed to, when I do update, you'll be notified. But if not, just check every day. Check the channel every day, right? And hey, Spotify. I don't have new subscribers there, but I'm up to like 6,200. I forget what they call it, views or something like that. So thank you for your support. All right, enjoy the rest of your morning, night, noon, whatever time frame you are indulging in this content, and until next time.